Hi, welcome to the Raven's Chatter. My name is Dez Raven.
I'm Jack Raven.
And we are a married couple who started this podcast to talk about things paranormal and supernatural, and to also talk about
Ghostly happenings with us.
and also
hauntings in particular.
you said that very scary. Yes. Okay, we don't need a soundtrack.
Okay, sorry.
So we kind of live a haunted life, I have to say. We have gone from house to house and things have happened in each house. And I don't know. I thought, well, all of these houses are haunted, but then we moved into one I was sure would not be haunted. And then things started happening, and then I thought, well, maybe it's not the house. Maybe it's my husband.
It's not the house. It's me.
It might be. Because looking back, I have had a lot of paranormal experiences, as have you, before we were together. But I do remember when we first met and started dating, what was one of our first phone conversations? Do you remember when you called me?
I was out. This was in LA. I was on the balcony.
Yes. And you had what? There were no cell phones then, were there?
Yeah.
Oh, you had a cell phone? Okay.
God, I ain't that old.
So he was out on the balcony.
However,
and I was home.
I think I was talking on a landline.
With a cord, or was it one of those
for
antenna?
you people that don't know what a landline is, it's actually an integrated,
they don't
telephone.
need a technical lesson. So was it a cord or was it antenna?
It was landline, but it was a cordless phone.
Okay.
It wasn't
So I had just been dating Jack for about probably a week, and he calls me, and I'm alone home at my apartment.
And I said, there's something in the bathroom looking at me.
No, first you have
to... And it wasn't my brother, because he was gone. It was a ghost.
Wait, you're just going way ahead. Okay, so you call me, and I say hello, and I'm like, what are you doing? What did you say?
I'm on my balcony.
And I said, why are you on your balcony?
Because I can't go into my apartment.
And I said, why can't you go into your apartment?
Because there's a ghost in there.
How do you know there was a ghost in there?
I could feel it. And it's I don't know. I had goosebumps. I could just feel it.
Well, what happened before this? Were you in the apartment or were you out on the balcony to begin with?
I think I called you from out on the balcony, and then I was going to go inside, and then I'm like, oh no, I can't go inside. I feel something in there.
And what did you feel?
It was staring at me.
What did you feel?
I just felt like a presence. It was watching me.
Did it feel malicious?
I don't know.
Did it feel scary?
Felt mischievous. Let's put it at that.
And how did you feel? Did you get goosebumps? Did you get chills?
I got goosebumps. I don't know. I just felt like this. Just felt like I couldn't go inside the apartment.
And to be honest with you, when you called me and told me that, I thought you were a little bit weird. I'm like, what? You can't go inside because there's a ghost? And you had a little bit of tears in your voice when you called me.
Well, I wasn't crying, so.
But you felt scared enough.
Yes,
that you were a little trembly, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, that goes to show you one of the first experiences that I had dating him had to do with a ghost. I'd only known him a week, and already a ghost had chased him outside of the apartment. So our podcast is going to be about things that have happened to us in the past. That's just one of many things. And it's also going to be about the darker side of life. We enjoy watching horror movies. We play every single horror video game that comes out, I would say. Wouldn't you?
Yeah, I do.
Well, I play them too. You might play some that are a little more extreme. I don't like run and hide video games. I like ones where you have a weapon and you can fight back.
Survival horror.
If you have a weapon, that's survival. If you're just running and hiding, that's like
You're
lame.
surviving.
I don't like those. I hate those ones. So, but we play those. And then we also listen to music that would be considered goth or alternative or death metal. So we'll talk about that kind of stuff too. But on today's first podcast, we're going to talk about our first experiences that we remember regarding hauntings and ghosts. And that one in LA on the balcony is not the first one for Jack or for I. So, honey, do you want to talk about the very first time you can remember a supernatural presence and something haunting that happened to you?
Yeah.
Okay. So did you believe in ghosts when this happened?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. What kind of ghost? Like Casper the Friendly Ghost, or you thought they were people who were dead still walking around, or did you think they were demons?
Okay. So, I mean, I believed in ghosts, but I also believed in, well, I grew up in kind of a Christian household.
Mm-hmm.
And so.
So you thought ghosts were demons?
Yeah.
You did?
Well, that's what they were supposed to be. Like, that's what my dad would say. Like,
You didn't think they were like.
there's no ghosts
Oh.
other than the Holy Ghost.
So your dad didn't believe in ghosts.
No,
He thought
it was demons.
And
And I don't know. Like, okay, so here's the story. So my parents were getting their kitchen remodeled, and they always say, and this is, I didn't know this information back then, but they always say when there's ever like any kind of construction or some kind of remodeling, it can like stir things up. And so I was in my bedroom, and the kitchen was being remodeled, and I can hear footsteps.
Were
out
you
there.
by yourself in the bedroom?
Well, my brother and I shared a bedroom.
Okay,
I
so
was in bed. Okay.
was it your bedtime?
It was my bedtime.
No, like
9 o'clock.
maybe this happened at the witching hour at 3 a.m. That's why I asked if it was your bedtime. I don't know what time it was. So you were in your bed. What time was it?
I was trying to get to sleep. Oh man, I'm trying to think. It was in the middle of the night.
Mm-hmm.
You gonna take notes on this?
No, I'm just.
Why do you have a pen?
Because I have a pen.
Okay, that's cool. So, and I heard footsteps in the kitchen.
Were you asleep when you heard these footsteps? Like, did they wake you up?
No, I was still up. I was
Oh.
like probably tossing and turning.
Uh-huh.
Insomnia. Everybody was asleep though. Okay,
Mhm.
so I know it wasn't, my mom who likes to roam the halls. I could hear these footsteps,
Were-
and they came.
Were all the lights in the house off?
Everything was dark.
Did you have a nightlight?
Yes.
You did? You had a nightlight at 15?
Yeah, I think I did. No,
Oh.
actually, no, we didn't have it at that time.
Oh, I was going to say that's
It was
really...
earlier on. Well, that you're such a baby.
I didn't say you're such a baby. I just said that would have been really old to have
Okay.
a nightlight. God.
So, anyways, I could hear these footsteps coming from the kitchen. We have a long hallway,
Mm-hmm.
and it started in the kitchen, and I could hear it coming.
What
And
did the footsteps sound like? Were they like fast paced? Were they slow
They
paced?
sounded like,
Did it sound like heavy thuds, or was it like tap, 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 like hills? What did it sound like from what you can remember?
it just sounded like the floor would creak,
Ooh,
and it was
creepy.
more creaking
So
from
do
the
it.
floorboard.
Like-
Creak, creak.
Really?
It was more than that.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't really footsteps, I would have to say. It was more creaking, but
Mhm.
the creaking got closer.
So it sounded like someone walking.
Yeah,
Did you
someone
think it
walking
was
closer and closer to me.
Did you think it was someone?
Like
Someone had broken into the house?
No, we would have heard that. But it started getting closer and closer to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I got scared, and I pulled at 15 years old, I pulled my covers over my head.
Well, that's okay. You just can't have a nightlight at 15.
Yeah. Anyways, those creaking footstep whatevers got closer and closer right by my bedside.
Oh.
And with my covers over my head, I could hear breathing.
Could you really?
Yes, and I stayed that way until there was daylight.
What
And
did-
the
well, how long
breathing
did the
didn't
breathing
last
last?
that long.
Uh-huh. Was it a heavy breathing?
And I don't know if it was my my mind playing tricks on me or whatever, but it was for a little while, and then it seemed like it went away,
Mhm.
but it could have just gone into a corner and waited for me to pull my covers down, like, "Hey there, buddy!"
So good to eat you.
Like, yeah, well, not eat me, but like scare the shit out of me. Anyways, so I waited in that position under those covers until I saw daylight, and then I finally went back. I went to bed after
Did
that.
you tell your mom or dad about it the next day?
And I'll tell you this: since that night, I would always have music on because it was so quiet.
Oh.
It was so quiet.
Mhm.
after that, I couldn't have dead silence. Even though there was my mom had that fan in the hallway, but that was so subtle.
So the next night was your first night you had to have music on?
Yeah, and I always had I think it was around, it was around the holidays, but I had Handel's Messiah on our speakers, and so I'd always fall asleep to Handel's Messiah.
Did you tell your brother or your parents about it the next day? Were you did you hear that?
No.
Why didn't you tell them?
I don't know.
Think they wouldn't believe you, or were you worried they would think?
We don't talk about things like with my family, like whatever. Were
you scared that they would think?
We have the English reserve.
Did you think they would be like, oh no, you have demons around you? Like it would have been more serious, or do you think they just would have believed you? Well, have you ever told
my dad, if I had, who knows?
Yeah.
I'm not talking ill will of my dad, but he might be like, well, what's going on?
Yeah. Are you having
maybe you need to pray
thoughts?
to Jesus.
Right.
And we'll get into that.
Well, yeah,
the whole
because we're going to talk
background I grew up in.
We are going to get into that because besides this being about our first ghostly experience, it's also going to be about the first horror movie that scared us, that really made an impact and kind of started us on our path down the dark side. Because, people don't just suddenly love horror. Usually it's a culmination of things that lead you down that path. Right. So we'll talk about that next because I know what you're thinking of. So you never told your parents. So that was a scary first experience. My experiences are more supernatural creatures, and we'll get on that in other podcasts. I'm actually going to talk about
creatures.
You know what I've seen. We'll talk about it in another.
The things you've seen.
Yes, the things I've seen, and we'll get that.
If you could see what I've seen with these eyes,
exactly, you would be insane, and you are insane. Yeah.
Okay. So go on.
You're funny. So we'll talk about my first haunting because it has to do with my house that Jack had several hauntings in. So we'll talk about that on another podcast because you had some crazy stuff happen as well. So instead, we're going to talk about the first horror movies we ever saw and how that impacted us, or even if it wasn't the first one, just one that you really remember impacting you. And
with our first episode, this is just kind of an overview of things that are about to
that we'll talk about later.
Talking about.
Yeah, we'll go more into
depth. And now for
depth.
A taste of things to come.
Yes.
Basically.
So we'll get into more depth in future podcasts. I think I've been abducted by aliens. We'll talk about that later. Jack thinks I'm crazy, but I'm not. Yeah. So we'll talk about that later. I have sleep paralysis. We'll talk about that later. I've seen creatures. We'll talk about these in other shows. Today it's just to lay the foundation of our show. So today we are going to talk about a
strong foundation.
We are going to talk about the first horror movies we saw and how they affected us. So
you can go first.
Well, I don't remember the first horror movie I saw. I do know I was probably about 8 or 9. My mom would let me and my younger sister, who's about 3 years younger than me, rent horror movies because she would explain to us. She would say, well, I'll rent this to you if you understand that it's just an actor, they have fake blood.
She would be like that with each and every movie.
No, just like the first time.
The first time? Yes. But what about the second time? It could be real.
No, we knew what movies were. We weren't dumb. So anyway.
At 9?
Yes. So yes, gosh.
9 and 6?
Yes. So we'd go to rent movies at the video store. There was no Redbox then. And the covers always looked so fun on the horror movies compared to the other movies. So we'd always beg for horror movies, and my mom would say, fine, I'll let you watch this if you know it's fake. It's just an actor saying these lines. It's fake blood. They go and wash it off, and don't you say anything bad.
I'm not saying nothing.
Your mom's a bad mom.
I'm not going to say
just
that.
Just because you weren't allowed to watch rated PG movies until you were 18.
I'm saying,
yeah.
I want to rent this.
Well,
what would you do? Would you show her the cover of the VHS?
Yeah, we'd be for example,
there's a bloody head. That looks good. Here you go, kids.
Just because you're jealous that you couldn't even watch rated PG movie till you were 18 doesn't mean you take it out me.
We were able to watch PG.
Lies. Fine, you weren't allowed to watch rated R until you were 18.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, just because you're jealous.
Well, I would sneak and watch R-rated.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Anyway, so my mom mom knew that we knew it was fake. So she was fine. And we were fine. It didn't traumatize us or anything. So I remember we would watch like Friday the 13th.
Is that your first horror
I don't
movie?
remember my first horror movie. I just remember the one that affected me the most and I loved the most. And it was actually a Disney movie. And it was called Watcher in the Woods. I know. And it wasn't that scary. But it was so good. And the sisters had such a cute little relationship. But we thought it was creepy because, and there will be no spoiler alerts in this podcast. When we talk about movies, we'll talk about them. So if you haven't seen them, turn it off. So we watched Watcher in the Woods, which was a Disney movie that I highly recommend.
Here's a little history. It's actually Disney's first horror intro. It was actually their first PG movie they had ever done.
Really? Or how do you know that?
I am a man of many facts, and I read all kinds of things.
You mean that's the only Disney movie your parents wouldn't let you watch because it was PG? Yeah. So anyway, we loved it, and it just really affected me because it was about how this girl's caught in another dimension that's kind of in space. It's really good.
You just gave... No,
I just said no spoiler. Like I'm going to give spoilers.
That's kind of... yeah, that's kind of like the trailer.
Yeah. So... that really affected me because we just loved it so much. And what's funny is the whole movie's kind of creepy because there's this thing in the woods watching the girls, and it makes a really
Is it your favorite movie?
It still is my favorite movie. Not my favorite, but it's one of them.
Watch it anytime.
Over and over. You know I can. I make you watch it with me all the time. So anyway, but what's funny about that, the whole thing's creepy, but it never scared me. The part that scared me is the little girls are going through like a dark ride. And there's a witch that jumps out on them. And every time that witch would jump out, we'd scream. And it wasn't even like the point of the movie, but that was the scariest part.
And this is the original Watcher in the Woods, just for the viewers so they know it's not the remake or whatever.
No, the remake was horrible. It was on Lifetime. We tried to watch it, and it was just horrible.
It's the one with Kim Richards.
Kyle Richards. Kim Richards is Escaped Witch Mountain.
Oh. Okay.
Well, I know they're both, Real Housewives, who I love.
Okay.
So anyway, what are the first horror scary movies that you remember, and how did they affect you?
Well, I wouldn't say they were necessarily horror, more religious, but to anybody watching them, they would be.
They're horror. You showed me. It was horror.
Okay,
why don't you tell them about the guillotine movie that I watched with you?
Well,
and I was like, this is a straight up 70s B movie.
Other than...
What's it called? In case anyone wants to see it.
Oh, man. It's part of the Rolling Thunder series. I think this one was called the Prodigal Planet.
How old were you when you saw it?
5
Oh,
or 6.
okay. And you're saying my mom's so bad letting me watch a horror movie at 8.
Christian movie must be good for my boys. My sister wasn't born yet. And it's like my dad just rented. We had this is a store called the Treasure House, and this is in Longview, Washington, where I'm from. And they had Christian movies that you could rent. And I remember my dad renting that for my brother and I.
Did you ask to see it? Did you see the cover?
I was kind of interested. It was more my dad's decision to rent that because they were going. Well, we were going to go to my grandparents. They're going to watch us. My mom and dad were going to go on a date. So I'll tell you why I laughed, okay? Because even my grandpa. All right, let me. Okay.
Explain what the movie is first.
Okay. So
was this movie rated PG?
It probably was not rated because Christian movies don't need a rating. They're G for good and godly. Anyways, I shouldn't say that in case whatever. But it has to do with the end times, okay?
You mean like Revelations?
Like the end of the world. It's Revelations. Okay, you have the tribulation. It depends what you believe, pre-trib, post-trib.
I have no idea what any of these words you're saying
mean.
So just put it in layman terms for me. I'm not.
Anyways, it's how you believe how the end of the world's going to be. Like the Antichrist is going to come on the scene, the mark of the beast, 666, blah, blah, blah.
So just tell me what happens in the movie.
In the movie, okay, these people, and I don't know why they would have such an archaic kind of form of execution, but they would have a guillotine, okay?
For who?
well, they were lining these people up, believers of Christ, and then if they believed in Christ, they would chop their head off.
Why would they chop their head off?
Because they wouldn't conform to the mark of the beast. They wouldn't accept the mark on their left hand or on their forehead.
So basically, if you believe in God, you get your head chopped off.
Yeah. And so...
Why didn't God...
And it was a graphic... They didn't show the head actually being cut off, but it was implied. But they had the basket that was all bloody that carried the head, and they carried it to this van and stuff, and they were disposing of the bodies, and you could see the body and stuff. And this is like done in the early 80s, so it had that creepy factor too, just that kind of
that
raw,
graininess,
grainy
and the
rawness.
coloring that's like just
and
off.
It's funny because my brother and I are watching this at my grandparents'.
Were you scared?
And my grandpa, who is a reverend, you know.
Oh, it was your grandpa. I'll edit
You
that
just
out.
said it.
I'll
Okay.
beep it. I'll beep it.
It was my grandpa on my dad's side.
Okay.
Okay. He is a reverend.
I didn't know that. I didn't know
And
it was that
he
grandpa.
even said, "What are you guys watching?"
Wow.
Yeah.
Was he upset?
He was like, "You allowed to watch this?" Like,
What did he
was
say? Like
questioning
people's
it.
heads being cut off?
Yeah.
What did you think about it
And
at
I'm
5?
like, yeah, this is a Christian movie. Like, you know, Dad rented this for us. So, and it etched in my mind that just like, and it gave me this fear about this whole end times thing.
So etched in your mind, like you better be a good godly son, or you might get your head cut. Oh no, wait, you get your head cut if you're a good godly son.
Yeah.
So you thought I better be like a
I
Satan
better be a
worshiper?
Satanist and hail Satan Almighty.
Yeah.
No.
Is that what you
I
thought?
accept the mark of the beast. Put it on everywhere you want. Put it on my ass. I don't care. No. No, it just gave me that kind of this ongoing fear
That the world would end.
Yes, and I
And
had
that you would never see your next birthday.
Yeah, and then you know, like
When you're
allegedly Pat Robertson
Mhm.
from the 700 Club, he would always give these like end of the world prophecies.
Uh-huh.
And I remember him saying something like that, and I'd always be on edge that the world's gonna end soon, and we're gonna go through this whole 7-year period of tribulation, and
where
like
they're gonna chop off your heads.
well, either that or there's gonna be drought, there's gonna be weird creatures that roam there. It's gonna be horrible for 7 years, and then after the 7 years, you're gonna be raptured to go up with Jesus in heaven.
So you saw this when you were 5.
Yeah.
Were you scared?
Yeah.
Did you tell your dad when he got home, like, I don't like this?
We never talked. Like, we're just like, oh. So,
Were you like, yeah, that was a great movie.
Yeah,
Thanks, Dad.
great movie, Dad. But that was my first horror movie, and
But you didn't know it was a horror at the
well,
time.
it was a Christian movie. But as far as feeling that fear that a horror movie now knowing, like, even though I've seen
Right.
so many horror movies that they don't necessarily scare me. They can be some scare me, but that was probably the first fear I've ever felt from a movie that really just kind of impacted me and like
helped shape you to the dark side.
to the man I am today. And
Yes.
if it wasn't for that movie, who
Well,
knows?
that movie, and also, what was the other movie you saw that was scary?
Which one's that? Like that I rented?
No, that your parents rented for you at 5 and thought ituld be a terrific movie for you to
that's
see.
not horror. Well, it's the miracle of birth. But
It made you scared of a vagina monster.
God.
Did it not? 5 years old, seeing a
Oh my
woman
God, I
screaming
didn't know.
and a baby breaching out of a hairy vagina. And you
I didn't know it was a vagina, actually.
I
I thought
know.
it was a butt.
weren't you
No,
scared?
I thought it was a butt baby she's having.
Weren't you scared? Weren't you like, what the hell is happening?
I wouldn't say I was scared, but I was confused because nothing was really
Explained.
explained to me. It's like, here, let's watch this. This is before my sister was born. And they rented this movie from the library, The Miracle of Birth from the 70s. So you can imagine she wasn't cleanly shaven. Like, you couldn't make heads or tails, literally, of where the the vagina was,
And
or where the
was
butthole was. It just looked all part of the same
anatomy.
location.
Plus, you probably didn't know women had 2 holes.
And if it
At
wasn't
age
the
5.
70s and she had been like
Clean shaven.
clean shaven, I could have made literally heads or tails what was where that baby was coming out of, but they didn't tell me.
Yeah.
And
So you
my
just-
school experience, we never had sex ed.
Right.
So
Well, you were only 5. I hope you didn't have sex ed at 5. Weren't you only 5
no,
when you saw that?
I'm kind of foreshadowing. I
How
guess
old
you could
were
say.
you? 8 when you saw the miracle of birth.
Oh, well, it was 5. I'm
you were
6 years older than my sister.
A lot happened to you when you were 5.
5.5.
5, I would say, is a defining year for you.
Yeah. So back to you.
Yeah, so I do want to say another horror movie that really made an impact on me, but in a bad way, is I think I was way too young to see it. And my babysitter rented it for me and my sister, and it was called Maniac. And I know you love the remake with
You
Elijah
watched
Wood.
the original?
Yeah, when I was
How
like
old?
9 or 10, and it was really disturbing. It was like watching a serial killer kill.
I've never seen the original.
It's just so
But
disturbing.
if it's anything
Even
like the one
disturbs
with
people
Elijah
now.
Wood,
I never watched that one because the first one disturbed me so bad. So
but you've never seen any parts of it?
the new one?
Yeah.
No, just the old one. And the old one was so disgusting. And the way it was filmed, it was almost filmed like a trauma film. It was very low budget.
Ew, gross.
And just had like a stinkiness to it.
Yeah,
and then
that's
it was
Trauma's
so,
trademark,
but it wasn't
stinkiness.
trauma. It was just,
I know.
and it was so degrading to women and just awful, awful, awful. And that was one I really wish I hadn't seen when I was young. But that one's not my mom because my babysitter did rent that for us.
God.
And it was disgusting. And so that's one
Well,
I'll always remember.
I've never seen the one, is it from the 70s or the 80s?
The 80s. That one.
I like
yeah.
the one with Elijah Wood.
Well,
and I think
the
what
80s is the one I saw. I won't watch the new one.
No, I
'cause
know.
but you should watch the 80s and compare them
Well,
and tell me what you think.
the reason I like that one, the newer one, is because of the music too. I'm really influenced by music.
The other thing I wanted to talk to you about, since we're talking about first experiences, because I know this about you, is are you going to tell me again and the listeners about your Bloody Mary experience?
Oh, right now?
Yeah.
Not for a later time.
No, that's we have so
Well,
many.
everybody has the bloody well, everybody's.
I've never seen her. I've done
No,
the
I
Bloody
mean
Mary in
they've
the mirror.
done the whole
Yeah.
Bloody Mary thing. Okay, so like, you go into, this was at my school, which was a private Christian school.
He's a good boy.
Yeah. Anyways, so we were in the restroom, and what you do is you turn off all the lights, and you spin around 3 times saying Bloody Mary, and at the 3rd time, and you're in front of a mirror too. I need to mention that. So you spin around 3 times, and then 3rd time you look in the mirror. It's almost like Candyman too.
Well,
it's almost like
Candyman-
Candyman saying Candyman, Candyman, Candyman.
I know, but that he
It's like a
came out
takeoff.
after Bloody Mary. Bloody Mary.
No, I know,
older.
but I
Oh.
think it's just for the
Right.
view, like for the people listening.
I think
So,
pretty much everyone knows what Bloody Mary is.
Yeah. So, and you look in the mirror, and they turn the lights on, and you're supposed to see her in the mirror, which I didn't then, but that night, in my bed. Okay, so I had this.
Maybe it's your bedroom that was haunted. Maybe it's you. I think it's you.
I don't know. Anyways, I dreamt I did that. Okay. And when I woke up in our bedroom, we had these sliding closet doors. Okay. And my bedroom's kind of to the left, and it kind of faced those mirrors. And when in my dream, when I said Bloody Mary the 3rd time, I awoke from my dream, and I looked exactly at our sliding mirror doors, our closet doors, and this white entity started floating towards me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she was wearing these like white flowy gown.
What
and
her
she's-
face looked like? Was she bloody?
It was kind of it wasn't, you couldn't make out, it wasn't blurry, but you couldn't make out features, but it started coming towards me, and I pulled my covers over my head again, and I think I was think I was around 16 or
Yeah.
so. Actually, I think it was actually younger. But yeah, I think what it is sometimes when you're in a dream, but I think sometimes when you're in a dream, you can kind of bring things out from your dream into
I never
the
do.
real world. Well, good for you.
Yeah.
You just wake up just like
I
that.
do. I don't bring shit out of my dreams.
Okay.
That sounds
so-
like crazy.
Well, your just dream ends and boom, you're ready to start the day, huh?
Yeah. You said that so snotty.
Well, that's what I saw. So that was an instance of Bloody Mary.
That's scary. We used to play Bloody Mary in school, and at home, I never saw anything. It was just kind of like fun to scare yourself and be like, oh, but that's really scary. You saw her.
Yeah. So
So if I asked you to go in our bathroom right now and do Bloody Mary,
I
would you?
would.
Oh,
Yeah.
you would? Mm-hmm. What if you woke up tonight
Nothing.
and she came out of the
Nah.
closet?
Nothing scares me anymore.
After what? After our last haunted house we lived in?
Yeah, but I've had stuff like
I
I've dreamt
know.
of things. I've woke up from dreams. I've seen things. Nothing's like violent, I guess.
Right.
Like nothing's ever attacked me. So I think that's why I'm not so scared
Right.
of seeing stuff after a dream.
So those are a few of our first experiences. Like I said, if you stay tuned to our podcast, we have a ton. We haven't even gotten into all the places we've lived and the things that have happened, which have been pretty bad.
So everyone, that is our show, and thanks for listening to the Ravens Chatter. You can find us on social media, Twitter,
Instagram.
Facebook,
Jack doesn't know social media. He hates it.
MySpace.
No,
Oh, that's too far back. Okay.
No, some people still use it. There's people out there right now like, you butthole, I still use MySpace. Who do you think you are?
Butthole.
I haven't heard that word in a long time too.
know.
That goes with MySpace.
So that was our first episode.
Yes, and if you have any supernatural or paranormal experiences and would like to be on our show, contact us, or if you would like us to share your story, you can also contact us then as well. And you can always find us on those social media platforms and also at theravenschatter.com.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Mrs. Raven
Mr. Raven.
signing off.
Bye.
Bye.